Awesome. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. So, as Janine said, I am Alyssa Gialamas, and I think my story really starts at the beginning. I was born with something called arthrogryposis. So, it affects my hands and my legs. I walk with long leg braces. And I think it really begins with my twin brother, and I have an older sister. And my parents always told me the name of the game was to keep up, right? Like I always wanted to do what my brother was doing. I always wanted to do what my sister was doing. And so they told me that as long as I put my mind to something and I spoke up when I needed help, I would go far. So I think that's really how I started being an advocate for myself, is really through my parents. They told me I could do anything I wanted. I just needed to advocate for myself. And I found that through swimming. And I started swimming when I was 3 years old. And it started as a form of physical therapy, actually. And I've always really loved the water for a couple of reasons. Number one, I always felt free. I didn't have to wear my leg braces and I could keep up. I felt like my disability disappeared when I was in the water. And number two, I loved swimming because there wasn't any special exceptions for me. Like growing up with a disability, there was always people who would run a little slower to tag me out on whatever baseball game I was doing. But swimming, you had to get to the other side of the pool. That was really the name of the game, and you couldn't do anything about it. So I never really knew about the Paralympics. I grew up doing able-bodied sports. I swam on an able-bodied team. And so right around when I was 13 or 14, I'm from Chicago. So Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association saw me swimming and asked me if I've ever been a part of the Paralympics or like adaptive sports. I said, no, I didn't really know about it. I had a brother and sister at home, and all adaptive sports were about an hour and a half away. So as you probably all know, with children, that's very hard to swing. And I didn't feel like I was missing anything. And so they told me that I should really go check this out. And so I headed up to Minnesota with my mom, not really knowing what was in store for me. I was about 15 years old. And again, I was still swimming on all able-bodied kind of sports. And within 3 days, I was classified in Paralympic swimming, which means you are classified through 1 in 10 comparative of your disability. So you only compete against people who are as able as you are. And for once in my life, the playing field was even. I wasn't racing against people who could kick. And within 3 days, I made my first team of Team USA. I broke an American record, and I was heading to Guadalajara at the end of the year, which is totally crazy. So I feel like a lot of ways I stumbled into success, and all of a sudden I was one of the greatest athletes, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I remember being in Guadalajara, and that's when I met Janine. And I was 15. I didn't really know where this track was going. I came really fast. And I remember I was ranked first going into one of my races. And I had already won 2 silver medals, and I was really excited to be going into this first. And unfortunately, I was out-touched, so I got second. And I remember coming back to the warm-up, and it was just me and Janine. And I was like really upset because I wanted to win. I had that drive. I had that feeling like I wanted to be number one. I didn't want to settle. And I also felt bad because like, who complains about being second? Like, it was like this weird in between. And I remember Janine just looked up at me and gave me the biggest smile. And she said, "This is only the beginning." And I had no idea that I was London material or Rio material. I just kind of knew I was on this track. And she was actually the first person to tell me that I could be one of the best athletes in the world. And so 6 months later, after a whole bunch of training, she was right. I made my first Paralympic team and went to London 2012 at 16 and came back home. It was an incredible experience, and went back to my high school team. And I think this was really the first time I kind of learned how much bigger just the Paralympics were, right? So not only was I kind of changing perceptions about what swimming looked like and what Paralympics looked like, but I was also changing perceptions of what someone with a disability did and who they were and like what kind of sports they were. And I believe that starting of the change is changing people's perceptions, right? Like if you want to change someone's mind or you want someone to believe what you believe, you have to change their perception of whatever that is. And I think through swimming and through the actions I did, I was able to change a lot of people's perception of what a disability looked like and what the Paralympics were. And as the Paralympic movement grew, I learned also how to advocate for myself. I was on the varsity team for my high school, and I was really upset that I couldn't go to state. And so one of my really good friends, she was a year older than me, it was her senior year, she advocated for people with disabilities to swim at state and to recognize that they are a part of the team in high school sports. So I was the first person with a disability to win 6 state titles in high school and the state of Illinois. And I went back and swam Division I with Loyola. And I think that's the second way I was able to kind of really advocate for myself, saying I really wanted to go to school. I really wanted to go to a 4-year community, but also kind of learning how I could swim as well. I was training for Rio, so it was 2 years, and a coach had a program already. And it was really cool because through my 4 years and being a part of this Division I team at Loyola, I was able to show awareness and talk to a whole bunch of other coaches that now have programs all over the United States, not only for Division III, Division II, and Division I for people with disabilities and Paralympians to train at school and swim on a team and also be a Paralympian and travel and be on Team USA, which was awesome. And through that, I also learned just how well my body worked when I took care of it, right? Like I've been an elite athlete for the last 10 years. I swam every day, and learning that through my disability, it also was greatly impacted through everything I did, right? Like I got a little stronger. So those Trader Joe's bags that I went to the grocery store got a little lighter and different things like that. So I graduated and I now live in Arlington, Virginia, and I got a job. And so through that, I also started doing just a bunch of adaptive workouts and kind of putting them on Instagram and different things like that, like finding those fit influencers and adapting it and then showing how I do some of the moves, right? Like because my hands have a little less grip and I use leg braces, so my workouts look a little different. And right around then, I really wanted to create community, and I didn't really know how I wanted to do that yet, right? Like I just graduated, but I knew that this was something I really wanted to do. And COVID hit. And as you all know, everything went virtual as we're sitting here on a Zoom meeting. And I kept thinking like, oh my gosh, like there has to be adaptive workouts out there. Like there has to be some kind of platform that I'm missing that are showcasing this because everyone else went digital and I can't really find adaptive workouts. So through COVID, I just started writing them down and I started realizing what different disabilities and different people needed through that. And after that, I created AMG Fitness, which is adapt, move, and gain. And originally it was just on my Instagram and I was doing Instagram live workouts. And I knew through speaking and talking, I didn't want any of my workouts to be charged. I didn't want people to have to pay more in order to get a great workout, especially as a person with a disability. That wasn't ever something I wanted. So through that, I created a 501c3 nonprofit, all on a platform called amgfitness.org. And it has 3 different programs. Knowing that there's so many different disabilities, how can I incorporate a program for so many people who have so many different needs? And it has the 3 different programs there. One is fully sitting. So anyone in a wheelchair and cannot transfer out of a wheelchair all does my adapt program. So it's all at home. So you can do it whenever you want. And it's all on that platform. My move program is for people who can transfer to the floor and have a little more trunk control. And they're able to get also a great 30-minute HIIT workout. And then my gain program is for people who stand, and the program that I do. And through that, I've been learning to advocate for people with disabilities to feel good in their body. You don't have to be a Paralympian. You don't have to travel the world or swim on Team USA to feel good and feel healthy. And that was really what I wanted AMG to be. So it's launched about a month and a half ago. So we're relatively new. And I'm really excited because of the strategic partnerships and donations and fundraising. I'm able to help a lot of different people from all across the country get a little more active at home. And starting in 2020, there will be community events. So you'll be able to meet all these people who are doing your workouts and join, and knowing that whenever you do something, when you do it together, it just makes it even more worthwhile. Anything in health and wellness, everyone knows that you're better when you have a buddy or a partner. And so that's something I'm really excited about. And that is a little bit about me. If you guys want to get involved, you can check out amgfitness.org. And through that is kind of how I advocated for people with disabilities and how my life has been created.